I'm good. Let's go. Okay, we're good.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting for Monday, March 19th, 2018. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, sugar.
Clerk Simpson, roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Papantos? Present. Trustee Lang?
I'm here.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Kruger? Present. Trustee Vogel?
Here.
President Horker?
Here. You have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of February 20th, 2018. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Vogel, second from Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos? Yes. Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger? Yes. Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do not.
Thank you, Mr. Spondulis. Proclamations, congratulatory resolutions, and awards. Clerk Simpson.
Save Abandoned Babies Month, April 2018. The Illinois Abandoned Newborn Protection Act allows parents to relinquish a newborn infant at a local hospital, police station, fire station, or emergency medical facility anonymously and free from prosecution. The Village of Wheeling's police and fire stations have been designated as locations for parents to relinquish newborn infants. Relinquished babies become custody of the state and are placed in a responsible and nurturing safe haven. The Illinois Abandoned Babies Protection Act provides a safe alternative to abandonment for Illinois parents who feel they cannot cope with the responsibility of caring for a newborn baby. It is the hope of the state of Illinois, as awareness of this act increases, to stop the abandonment of newborn infants, a practice that has led to healthy babies being found harmed, deceased, or in unsafe places. Since the signing of the Illinois Abandoned Newborn Protection Act, numerous newborn babies have safely relinquished, but many newborn infants continue to be abandoned. The Illinois Abandoned Newborn Protection Act is a critical statute in the state of Illinois, as it affords the chance of a better life for abandoned newborn babies. Continued public awareness of the Act is necessary to fulfill the goals of protecting all newborn infants and providing parents with a responsible and safe way to relinquish a newborn infant. Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as Save Abandoned Babies Month and encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of protecting abandoned infants and giving them the proper care they deserve. National Safe Digging Month is April 2018. Each year, the nation's underground utility infrastructure suffers unintentional damage through the action of those who fail to call 811 to have underground utility lines located prior to digging, potentially resulting in consequences that include service interruption, harm to the environment, personal injury, and even death. In an effort to reduce these damages, the Common Ground Alliance and its members promote a national call before you dig number 811, designated by the Federal Communication Commission in 2005 to provide excavators and homeowners with a simple number to reach their local one-call center and request utility line locations at the intended dig site. Joint Utility Locating Information for Excavators, Julie, the one-call center for Wheeling and the rest of Illinois outside of Chicago, is one of the largest such centers in the nation and processes utility locating requests 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Excavators and homeowners will save time and money while keeping our communities safe and connected by observing established digging practices. Make a simple call to 811 in advance of any digging project. Wait the required amount of time before beginning the project. Respect the marked lines by maintaining visual definition during the excavation. Dig with care around the marks. The Village of Wheeling seeks to inform the public that safe digging is a shared responsibility. To know what's below, call 811 before you dig. Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as National Safe Digging Month in Wheeling and encourages excavators and homeowners to always call 811 before digging, because safe digging is no accident.
Thank you, Clerk Simpson. We have no appointments and we have no oaths. Citizens' comments.
Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizens shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Mr. Carroll?
We're going to be, she's going to speak after, is that okay?
Okay.
We're husband and wife, we own the property together.
So, good evening, and thanks for taking the time to hear our concern. My name is Bolton Carroll. This is my wife, Lorena, and we are here to talk about a particular, we have purchased a piece of land in Wheeling about 7 years ago, and it's undeveloped. It's a vacant lot on the corner, near the corner of Hintz and Schoenbeck. And our plan was to actually build a single-family residence, a nice residence. We
About
feel,
3,500 square feet.
maybe $500 or so thousand might be that type of home we could be putting up. We ran into an obstacle, and so that's what we're kind of here to address the board and see if you have any help. You give us any suggestion. We've been working with Andrew Jennings, or talking with him in terms of trying to get around a stumbling block. The main problem is that it's very expensive to connect to the sewage system from where we are. We're about over 300 feet from the connection, and the engineers have told us it's going to cost us probably around $150,000 or so to do that connection. And the option that we could go, which would be much less expensive, make it possible for us to do this, would be to do a septic system. So the question, or the research we've done, is in terms of the septic system. The state of Illinois actually allows septic system if you're over 300 feet from a connection. They have it in their code, and I'm sure the reason is they're figuring, well, it's probably undue hardship to make people connect if they're more than a certain distance. The town here in Wheeling, the codes is not as, it doesn't have that ability. It sort of requires a connection. So our request is that either maybe we can amend that code in Wheeling to make it more in tune with the state law, the state code. That would be one way to help us out, and maybe there are other potential homeowners like us that might be in this situation. So that would be our request, to figure out a way, if it's possible, to amend the code in Wheeling to be more in tune with the state of Illinois, that would allow people such as ourselves to be able to continue to build when we have this extreme sort of financial hardship of just connecting to the sewage system. And basically, the other option, Andrew's kind of told us that this is not in the village code. It's not really appealable the way it's, I guess, written. So he doesn't feel there would be a way to appeal it, but if there's some way, if we can't change the code, we can create some sort of an exception, that's what we'd be interested in kind of hearing from you, to see if there's any way you have suggestions to help us out.
Yeah, and I don't have too much to add. There could be an exception to the code in this situation rather than, maybe changing the code, whatever you feel, works. I don't know. Like my husband was saying, we bought the land in 2010, and we had no idea at the time. We were just planning on doing well and septic because we thought it was going to be less expensive. And we had no idea, when we sent in the plans, nobody told us that we really would have to connect, because, we actually even tried, Mr. Jennings knows about this. We've had multiple conversations with MWRD, to see if there was a possibility there. He has a letter, and he has all the emails regarding this if you need them. There's no way that they're going to allow us. This has held us up about a year from building. And so it's been very frustrating, because when I first initially sent the plans into Wheeling, all they told us was, oh, you just have to move the garage to the other side, everything's fine. And I believe there was well and septic in the plans, nobody mentioned anything. And the whole way, the procedure is that you first go to the state, and, or you go to the county and you get approval. Wheeling will not approve any well, septic, water, anything until you have the county approval. So we got that twice, actually. But then the second time we brought it to Wheeling, that's when they said, oh, no, with Mr. Jennings, you can't have a well, you can't have, and even though we thought we were following the state code. And we had actually spent probably already about $6,000 on the design, because then when the Township of Wheeling said, okay, you have to move the garage, we moved the garage, then we had to redo the well and the septic, unbeknownst to us that you were not going to approve that based on the approval from the state. So, again, just so you know how it is for somebody that has land, to maybe see what could the procedure be that owners could know that beforehand, because it seems like you really don't want to ever approve, in any case, the water, the well and the septic. So anyway, we are, just so you know, this has really been a dream of ours for a long time. It's a beautiful home. It'll probably cost us, if we do end up building it, over $700,000. We have very specific ways we're going to have it. So, it's really been a
Ms. Carroll?
hardship. Oh, I'm over the 5, okay.
Just kind of wrap it up.
Okay, so I'll just wrap it up. So the thing is that, we will have to sell the property. We will not be able to afford, nor do we want to put $150,000 into a sewer system. That would be the third of the cost of the house. We would probably just wait and sell the land. The other thing is as you know,
Ms. Carroll?
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. The last time I was here, I spoke to you on this topic. Forgive me, it was about documents I had received from the Village of Northbrook website. Every year they publish their financial document, and one page in that financial document shows a graph that compares the property taxes of all the neighboring villages, totaling 27 villages. The last time I was here to talk about this, I had asked for staff to make me a slide so I could show it to you and put it on the overhead, but apparently they didn't feel that was their job. So I have prepared a slideshow tonight and a slide, on my own device. And it is limited. The PDFs on my slideshow is limited to the documents from the village in Northbrook. So it will be limited strictly to the graphs that municipality provides published in their annual budget document. So I was hoping to show that to you tonight. Joe Vito, could I have a motion to please grant me permission to show that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in for taking motion. If nobody wants my opinion, I don't care.
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
I said I personally don't care to see it, but I guess decorum's not going to allow it. I mean, I personally...
The rules do not provide for slide presentations or video supplements. Citizens have a right, certainly 5 minutes to give their presentation, which Ms. Wilson's very well aware of, but there is no provision to allow for slide presentations, nor is there any requirement that you do so.
Horker is the chairman of this board and is a man who ran as a fiscal conservative. And received this document that the slides come from a municipality. It's not something I've invented of my own accord. It reflects, with the exception of the red line pointing to where Wheeling is, it doesn't have any additions to it. I would ask that you would allow the public to see these documents and to allow me to present it to the board so that people have an understanding of the increase in our property taxes as compared to other neighboring municipalities between years 2008 and 2015.
And these are available online at the Northbrook Village's website?
Well, the Village of Northbrook has the last 2 years available on their website, but they don't have the previous ones. Those have been removed from their website. You could obtain them through FOIA, which I did.
Well, if they're available online, we really don't need to see them here. Please continue with whatever your verbal portion is.
You denying me the right to show these slides?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Consent, there are no staff reports. Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, all items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of the business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution approving a contract with RJN Group Incorporated for sanitary sewer evaluation services in the amount of $74,780. 11B, resolution authorizing the execution of the fourth and fifth modification and an increase of $20,001 to the contract with ICF Incorporated, LLC for relocation specialist consulting services for the Fox Point Middle Home Mobile Park relocation program. 11C, resolution authorizing the publication of the official zoning map to document zoning map corrections and recent zoning changes. 11D, resolution authorizing the village president to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Prospect Heights Fire Protection District to permit the borrowing of emergency vehicles and/or equipment between the parties. 11E, resolution accepting a proposal from CIP Planner Corporation for CIP ACE Capital Planning Software in an amount not to exceed $79,764. 11F, resolution authorizing the village president and clerk to execute an easement agreement with 400 West Dundee LLC for a utility easement at 404 and 420 West Dundee Road.
Any concerns?
So moved.
Motion trustee Brady.
Second.
Second trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Wait. Trustee Brady and then trustee Vogel.
Correct.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. All set?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, it's not going. Okay. New business.
Yes, ma'am.
13A, presentation by Baxter and Woodman regarding stormwater quality MS4 permit.
Mr. Janik.
Thank you. The village annually is requires to get a permit. It's called MS4 stormwater permit. And as part of the permit, public input and presentation is required. And tonight, Baxter Woodman, who is our consultant relative to the permit process, is here to give a short presentation on the MS4 and stormwater issues with the village.
Great.
Point of order. If he's permitted to use a presentation, why cannot members of the public do the same thing? He's a member of the public.
Mr. Ferraro.
This gentleman is a village consultant working for the village. This is a planned agenda item. It's a very different scenario than citizens' concerns and comments, which Ms. Wilson had every right to spend 5 minutes making her point, which she knows very well. So I think this is...
Yes, but I cannot make my
proceed.
point without my
Ms.
object
Wilson.
lesson, which is the visual,
Ms.
which is the
Wilson.
slide.
Sit down or go out. Thank you.
Right, please. Thank you for the introduction, Board. The Clean Water Act, a federal law and requirement, provides for requires every state, county, municipality in the nation to implement a program to protect local waterways from pollution generated from stormwater runoff. And I'm here to provide just a very brief overview of that program that the village implements very well. So I'll talk about the federal rule, MS4, what that means, give a little bit of definition to the acronyms. It's a program filled with those. Talk about implementation of the water quality program, the 6 major program areas of the program, and a little bit about monitoring and training that goes on within the village. So MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. In layman's terms, that's anything that grabs stormwater or picks up stormwater as it rains within the village and transfers that to receiving water, lakes, rivers. So that can be any of your storm drain inlets and storm drain pipes, your curb and gutter system, public surfaces, anything that picks up stormwater and allows it to flow to a river or receiving stream. These are systems that are owned and operated by public bodies like yourself, designed for collection of stormwater and stormwater only. So this is not to be confused with your combined sewer system. This is just stormwater runoff and stormwater only. So stormwater can pick up a variety of pollutants as it runs across public surfaces and transfer those to rivers and lakes. Just think about what rainwater comes into contact with at the village. So sediments, suspended solids, and other types of debris. Nutrients from fertilizers like phosphorus and nitrogen can create water quality problems. Also pesticides that are used. Any heavy metals that might come off of industrial areas can be picked up by stormwater. Bacteria from any living organisms. Detergents and oil and greases can be picked up by stormwater, and also just miscellaneous trash and debris can be picked up and carried into rivers and streams and lakes. So the MS4 rule authorizes the discharge of stormwater from the village. You've received a permit. It's a federal permit. It's a state permit as well. That authorizes you to discharge that stormwater and has a lot of rules within the permit that you have to follow and able to discharge that stormwater. It also authorizes non-stormwater discharges like your hydrant flushing, irrigation water, flows from firefighting activities. So there's a long list of non-stormwater discharges that you're allowed to put in your storm drain system as well. It also authorizes you to discharge controlled runoff from construction sites where measures have been taken to prevent pollution from construction areas. And more acronyms, the permit requires best management practices by the village to the maximum extent practicable to be protective of water quality. These terms were chosen very carefully when the Clean Water Act was enacted, that we're not trying to meet a numerical target or a financial target. It's best management practices to the maximum extent practicable for the village, which can be different from village to village. So Illinois EPA administers this program in the state of Illinois. There's many names for this permit. I'd like to state them all, but we don't have time tonight. It's the Phase 2 permit, or it's the NPDES permit, or it's the MS4 permit, which I defined MS4 earlier. You're not alone in implementing this permit program. There's 440 agencies within Illinois that implement it, and each permit has a 5-year duration. So each year, Illinois EPA takes a look at the current permit, see if it needs to be modified, enhanced, and then sends that out for public notice, and the village then begins to implement the next 5 years. So one of the permit requirements is a stormwater management program plan, an SMPP, that has been developed. It explains how the village implements the MS4 program, describes the responsible parties, which departments do what to implement the program, and commitments and program administration. And this is on the village's website for public information and review. The program, like I said earlier, has six primary areas for implementation. These include public education and outreach on stormwater impacts, public information and public involvement and participation. My being here tonight meets one of your permit requirements within the permit for public involvement and public participation, and the public having knowledge that your program does exist and a way to provide input and comments on that program. It also requires you to have a program to detect illicit discharges and illegal connections to your storm drain system, control construction and post-construction stormwater runoff, and pollution prevention, good housekeeping measures, so that your staff and your departments are doing things within best management practices to prevent pollution and stormwater quality. Your Public Works Department samples Buffalo Creek in 3 locations each year to measure the effectiveness of this program, and as part of some local watershed priority groups as well. So the 3 primary documents within this program are on your village website. This is a snapshot. It's very difficult to read, but a snapshot of the Public Works section of your website. It includes the notice of intent, which is your program commitments that you make every 5 years when a new permit is issued for draft comment, your stormwater management plan, which I just mentioned, and then 5 years worth of your annual reports. So the way I like to think about this document is the notice of intent is the commitment you're going to make, what you're going to do to protect water quality within stormwater from the village. The stormwater management plan is who's going to do it and how is it going to be done, and the annual reports describe how did you do, how was implementation, and what kind of measures did you take to protect water quality. So for any public or board questions about this program, you can contact the Public Works Department at 847-279-6900. And that is my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions if the board would like.
Questions from the board? Trustee Lang?
Just had a quick question. So I would assume most of our major runoff goes to Des Plaines River?
3 watersheds, primarily Buffalo Creek and Des Plaines River, the 2 largest ones,
Okay.
yeah.
And so how is for this particular purpose, you probably didn't monitor Des Plaines River, but just in general, what's the shape of Des Plaines River as clean water? I know it's a mud-based river, but the quality of it.
So MWRD and IEPA have an ambient water quality program, and they take samples every year for a variety of pollutants. And I know the river is listed as impaired for certain pollutants, and not for others. So I could be happy to point you to IEPA's website where they document and present what impairments the rivers do have. Yeah. It is listed for certain pollutants as being impaired.
Okay. And, but they are, obviously actively monitoring all that, and they have been, so, IEPA.
Right. So every day village staff are out there doing things to protect stormwater quality from pollutants that are generated throughout the village, and MWD and IEPA are monitoring to make sure that there aren't any, or if an elevated level is detected, let's look for that illicit discharge or that illegal connection, and the permit actually requires you to trace those types of situations down and correct them or eliminate them.
Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
Thank you. Do I need to move to open the public hearing, or do I just read this? Read it in order to open the public hearing, yes.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, you're going to do it? Okay.
I'm going to read. This is a public hearing for the public to make comments regarding the request for renewal of a Class C real estate tax assessment classification for 50 through 70 Messner Drive. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Herald. Are there any comments from the public? There being no comments, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Vogel, second trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Clerk Simpson.
13C, resolution determining the appropriateness of Class C renewal pursuant to the Cook County Real Property Classification Ordinance as amended January 1st, 2000 for a certain real estate located at 50-70 Messner Drive in the village of Wheeling, Illinois.
Mr. Malenefi.
Thank you, President Horker. An application was received from Corman Lederer and Associates with a request for a renewal of a Class C real estate property tax classification. A Class C classification was granted in 2007 to the applicant as a result of a significant environmental contamination of the property. An environmental hazard was caused by a manufacturer tenant who had declared bankruptcy after allowing toxic substances to leach into the concrete flooring and cement walls of the subject property. Corman Lederer and Associates remediated the property completely, reconstructing the building, and received a no further remediation letter from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. As you know, the village strictly prohibits renewals of Class 6B property tax classification. However, the Class C program is drastically different. The subject property's significant environmental contamination and cost to remediate the property warrants the renewal of a Class C exemption. The total remediation cost was over $935,000, an expense 35% greater than the original 1977 cost to construct the building at $635,000. The subject property is a 51,591 square foot building situated on a 110,000 square foot industrial site. The building is divisible into units of 30,685 square feet and 20,906 square feet. Over the past 10 years, the subject property has been occupied by a number of short-term tenants paying below market rents. In our opinion, the property is stigmatized as a result of the contamination, and the building's reputation for environmental contamination has prevented commitments from long-term tenants and purchasers. The most recent lease was executed with a picture frame company with a 2-year period in 2013 with a month-to-month renewal ever since. The applicant owns 5 properties in Wheeling totaling over 230,000 square feet, and over the years, Corman Lederer and their partners have engaged in development and management of over 700,000 square feet of industrial properties in the village. The applicant is a long-term holder of industrial properties in Wheeling and has demonstrated their financial commitment to the environmental cleanup. Despite these efforts, the applicant has been unable to recover from the cost to remediate the property. The applicant meets the requirements for a Class C, and the program is renewable. The remediation costs far exceed the $100,000 minimum cost, and more than 25% of the market value of the real estate as determined by the Cook County Assessor's Office property record card in the year prior to the remediation. The property taxes generated overall economic contribution would likely be greater than they would if the property were to receive vacancy relief. Village staff has reviewed the application as summarized above and recommends approval of a renewal of the Class C property tax classification. Village staff continues to oppose renewals of Class 6B incentives since they should have a finite life. The applicant is here. Should the village board have any questions?
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. Just one question. How many 6Cs have we granted, do you know, Director Malanofi?
This is the only one to my knowledge, Trustee Papantos.
Thank you.
And the environmental was extensive.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions from the board. Trustee Kruger?
Yes, thank you. Director Malanofi, what good is an NFR because there's no further remediation, right?
Correct.
What good is that to this property owner if he's got this stigma?
It's going to be the NFR runs with the property, so anyone who has looked at this property and done their due diligence quickly identifies this property as having received an NFR, and yet they still have concerns that there's liability related to ownership of this property. And so the applicant has spent considerable funds to remediate it, and yet he cannot achieve higher rents or sell the property.
Thanks for the explanation. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There are no other questions. Trustee Vito?
Director Malanofi, does the property, its assessment rate from the county, is that affected at all by the inability for it to be sold, or I guess the cloud on, it's not a cloud on title, but the cloud on the property itself having this problem? Does it reduce its assessed value at all in the triennial evaluation, do you know?
It only does when the Class C classification is provided, and it's assessed at 10% of market value rather than 25%.
Okay.
For the first 10 years.
Mary John and I were at a seminar on Friday where the NFR letter and why it might not market your property was a big issue. It was something
That's why I asked. I just feel like the backstory shows that the property owner has certainly done his due diligence to clean it up, and it doesn't really matter.
It does, which you have to remember, doesn't mean that the property's clean. Sometimes the way you deal with contamination is by encapsulating it with parking lots or cement or different ways to address the type of development you have. So sometimes it means cleaning it up, sometimes it means making sure it's not dangerous. So it just depends.
Got it. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, then I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion. Second. Trustee Kruger, second Trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Okay.
Clerk Simpson.
13D, ordinance granting a rezoning from MXT Transit-Oriented Mixed-Use District and I-4 Heavy District to I-3 General Industrial District for 435 Wheeling Road, docket number 2017-19A.
Mr. Jennings, what do we have?
Thank you, President Horker. This is actually 5 ordinances in one package. I'll go through the total package, and then 5 separate votes would need to be taken. The petitioner, Pete's Perfection Plus, is seeking these 5 actions essentially to address two items. The existing zoning for the property has been modified since the petitioner's property opened up. The zoning code itself has also changed, so the special use classification that was once offered on this property is no longer a use that's defined in our zoning code. So petitioner, to correct his legal nonconforming status, is requesting a rezoning action as well as 3 special uses to make up for the change in the zoning code and the zoning map that have occurred since he first opened. The second item relates to the additional property that the petitioner has acquired. Commercial Drive right-of-way was vacated, as you recall. This petitioner acquired part of the Commercial Drive right-of-way. He had been leasing the property from the Village of Wheeling prior to that acquisition. Now that it's been acquired, he is seeking to reorganize the property in a way that has better site flow for him. The 5 items that have been reviewed by the Planning Commission were all recommended for approval. I'll just go through them very briefly. The first is a rezoning that would rezone both portions of the property, the MXT portion and the I-4 portion, to I-3. The next 3 are all special use ordinances. One is for heavy motor vehicle outdoor storage. The second is for heavy motor vehicle parking. And the third is for heavy motor vehicle repair. As I said, the 3 of those combine effectively to take the place of the hauling storage yard, a special use that he previously had, or that he currently has, as a legal nonconforming use. Those 3 ordinances have conditions of approval attached to them through the Planning Commission recommendation. They are identical. They read as follows. Number 1, if necessary and prior to permit issuance, a new utility easement shall be recorded that aligns with the location of the existing village utilities. Number 2, a fire department approved Knox box shall be provided at the south lot entrance gate to provide site access. And number 3, provided vision is not obstructed for trucks exiting the site, additional shrubs and a tree shall be added in front of the new 13 linear feet of fencing along Wheeling Road. The last item, H, is a ordinance granting zoning variations. Those are variations for the green space requirement of 25%, which would be reduced to 8%. That's the existing variation for the property. It would be carried over to include the new property. And then there's a proposed reduction of the parking setback, which is along the south property line. The requirement in the zoning code is 10 feet. The site plan that you have in front of you is for a reduction to 1.5 feet. With that, the petitioner is here to answer any questions you may have.
Good evening.
Good evening, Village President Rucker. Dan Shapiro on behalf of the applicant. I think Mr. Jennings summarized it nicely. We were here before the Plan Commission, I believe on the 8th, and went through this petition. We were pleased to get unanimous recommendation on all of our requests, and here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Trustee Lang, you had a question?
I did.
Trustee Brady, you're next.
I know in the Plan Commission there was some heartburn over the site from the air. And, you know, and I'm not all that concerned about that for the fact that very few people will see it from the air, and more concerned with ground level or street view. But will this expanded plan and the reorganization fix a lot of that?
The answer is yes. Partly because they have more space so you can organize things. And secondly, when it was brought to our attention, I think my client said, this is not good. We're going to clean this up and make it better. So he made a commitment that evening to make it look better, at least from that higher view. Plus there's a high fence, plus the additional property will allow for things to look better.
Great. And lastly, I know we're adding some landscaping to the front along Wheeling Road where possible, but now I haven't taken the train in a while and I haven't gotten back there, but how's the shape of the property from behind the...
I think you're going to have to get a little more detailed with the question. What do you mean, how's the shape?
Well, what's it, you know, is it...
It's all fenced in, even back there.
Okay, up to your property line.
Yes.
Okay.
All the way back, and it's going to be fenced in.
Okay,
all the way to the new
I'm
property.
just concerned with overgrowth back there, if that's yours or not yours, or...
That's the ComEd behind my fence.
Okay,
I
got
don't
it.
own any of that.
Okay, okay. Concerned with, the reason I'm asking, concerned with how it...
Looks for the train.
Everything looks
I
along
got
the train as well.
Makes sense. The kids graffitied the fence once. We cleaned it up as best we could, but that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Brady, Trustee
Thank you.
Papantos, you're next.
In reading through the Plan Commission notes, I lost track of where the perimeter fence is. Are you putting a perimeter fence all the way around?
Palumbo's putting a fence, or Orange Crush, or Builder's Asphalt is putting a fence going east.
They're putting that one in.
They're putting that one in, and I'm going right up to it with mine.
So your
Yeah,
side
I
will
have
be-
to add fence.
Your side will be enclosed.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that I too was concerned, I'm not concerned about the aerial view, but street view will be kept up.
Definitely, well, the trucks will be set back further, too.
And I just want clarification, even though you're expanding your property slightly, you're not adding any new structures.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you, President Horker. Hi, I've got a question for you about one of the ordinances, or one of the special uses that we're looking at tonight has a setback for reduction to 1.5 feet.
Correct.
Can I assume that that same setback will be around the heavy motor vehicle storage area as well?
Yes.
Parking? How many heavy motor vehicle storage vehicles do you anticipate being in that area? It's hard to tell.
It's
on a
kind
drawing.
of, it's on a daily basis. There's nothing being parked there overnight, like if I was renting to someone or anything like that. Those are all in there for repair, and sometimes we have to push one out because we're waiting for parts and put another one there. It could be up to a week, could be a week and a half for waiting for parts on certain vehicles. I mean, they rotate. I mean, they constantly rotate.
I watched the Plan Commission, and I felt like there was some language at some point in the Plan Commission where they said that there would be vehicles parked in that heavy motor vehicle storage area that would be used for parts.
Not usually, no. I mean, they're coming in for repair. If a customer's waiting to decide, I mean, some repairs can be $10,000. They're waiting to decide on approval, it gets pushed outside.
Got it.
Usually, it either gets fixed or it gets towed back out. I mean, I don't like to bring them in to even look at them if we're not going to fix it. Potentially, if they tell me the motor's making noise, I already give them an assumption of a number somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. They already know what they're getting into. But
So you don't want that heavy motor vehicle storage area to get
No.
overfilled either?
I need
so-
the space to rotate them in and out. You need the space, that's the bottom line.
Fair enough, thank you.
If there are no other questions or concerns, we can move forward to the ordinance portion of our evening. One at a time?
One at a time.
Please read 13E.
We didn't vote on 13D.
Do we vote on 13D?
We didn't do a
13D.
13D, we need a roll call.
We need a motion.
Need a motion?
Motion, I'll motion.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, roll call.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes,
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, sorry about that.
That's okay. 13E, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for heavy motor vehicle outdoor storage at 435 Wheeling Road, docket number 2017-19B.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second, Trustee Papantos, roll call.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
yes,
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item F.
13F, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for a heavy motor vehicle parking lot at 435 Wheeling Road, docket number 2017-19C.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second.
second,
Trustee Kruger, roll call.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. G.
13G, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for heavy motor vehicle repair at 435 Wheeling Road, docket number 217-19D.
So moved.
Motion, trustee Vogel, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, roll call.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. Item 8.
Item 13H, ordinance granting variations from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code relating to minimum green space and parking setback requirements at 435 Wheeling Road, docket number 2017-19E.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Vogel, second.
Wait, this is GH?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, what's Vogel? All right, go ahead. Vogel, second.
Second Papantos.
Papantos. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. 13I.
I, resolution approving the amended plat of subdivision for the Wheeling Town Center, current address 351 West Dundee Road, pending address assignment of 335-419 West Dundee Road, docket number PC 18-4.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The final plat of subdivision that was recorded for the Wheeling Town Center excluded the area known as Lot 7. It was discovered prior to recording that IDOT owned a portion of the lot. The area in question was believed at the time to be Northgate Parkway right-of-way under the jurisdiction of the village. It was, in fact, but it was also owned, the parcel itself was owned by IDOT. The developer has since acquired the subject area from IDOT, and the land can now be added to the amended subdivision. The subdivision also incorporates a few minor changes to lots 2 and 3 that were recently reviewed as part of the site plan modifications to accommodate Starbucks. The petitioner is here if you have any questions. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of the amended plan.
Any questions from the board? Left, right, trustee Papantos.
Just one question, Mr. Friedman? Because you came all the way over here, I thought I should ask, how long did it take to get IDOT approval?
You want me to answer that in a public forum?
Yes? Just so people know.
Be nice, Brad.
I'm just going to present the facts. Well, we discovered this probably in the springtime of last year. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date, but I would say that it took a good year.
And this is a tiny sliver of land.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
But wait, the whole story. And how was possession finally acquired?
So IDOT has to have an auction.
Yes.
They actually came up with an appraised value. They didn't like the original appraised value. They thought it was too low. I think the original appraised value was somewhere around $1,000. And then they
But there's procedure that has to be followed.
And they did another appraisal, and they came up with a very different number. And
now we've got it all sorted out.
Jim, you're looking at me like...
I would say yes, we have it sorted out.
This is one
Yes.
bureaucracy trying to
Yes.
get another bureaucracy
Yes.
to do something.
Yes. And a lot of it is kind of silly because a good chunk of that land that we acquired from IDOT is now being dedicated back to the village as a public right-of-way. So it's a little silly, but we're just here to play ball. So, you know.
Well, thank you for playing.
Okay, no problem.
If there are any other questions, if there are not any other questions, Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Vogel, second trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Thanks, guys.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Managers Fundilus, discussion.
Thank you. This evening, there are two items that Trustee Papantos had asked that the board consider, at least at the level of discussing each of these two topics. Neither of them identify a specific problem per se, but she did want the opportunity to provide the board the opportunity to discuss potential changes should you desire. The first of the two really falls into the category of intent and clarification. The subject is delivery of alcoholic beverages. Currently, the code is silent on delivery of alcoholic beverages. By this we mean, and this is a limited scope, this is I order a pizza for delivery, and with my pizza I can order a six-pack of beer. So we're not talking about a significant number of businesses that provide this service, but there are a couple in town that do, and the code neither explicitly says that you can do this, nor does it say that you cannot do this. So really the discussion is, like I said, intent and clarification to provide you the opportunity to do that. If you would like to leave it alone, again, we're not identifying a problem. This is a topic, though, that has come up, and we just like clarification on it. So the question really is, do you want to do anything? Leave it alone. Or would you like to see specific language written into the code that prohibits the delivery of alcoholic beverages, and then what we do about it? And maybe after a little discussion, I can narrow the question down so that everyone understands specifically what is being asked. In the meantime, Trustee Papantos, if you want to expand a little on the request.
Thank you. The reason this came up is I received a flyer in the mail, and it specifically said, delivery is available, and I thought it seemed strange. I went back to the code and read it and read it and read it, and it is not specifically stated as Manager Svandelis indicated. In the past, when we discussed having tastings at stores, we were told that if it's not in the code, it means it's not allowed. And I think it was Binny's who came before us and said, we'd like to have your code changed so that we can have tastings at the store. And they went through how they will handle it and what procedures they take to make sure that they're always in compliance. I have fears personally, and maybe I'm overreacting, that if alcohol is being delivered by somebody who is working part-time as a delivery agent, delivering pizza or whatever, will they be Bassett trained? Will they check for ID when they get to the home? And how do we check compliance on that? So that's why I brought it up. And I personally think it should be listed in the code, one way or the other.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Vogel?
I don't think we can prohibit it. With e-commerce growing the way it is, everybody's offering delivery, and multiple stores that are offering delivery right now sell alcohol. So I think we have to, again, not prohibit it, but I think we have to figure out a way to control it and set up rules and regulations that they have to be Bassett trained, they have to be 21, delivery people have to be, whatever is necessary between Chief Dunn and what Jim would come up with. Because I think if we outright prohibit it, we're eliminating a potential sales tax gain. And I think the wave of the future is home delivery of everything, groceries and liquor. So I think, don't prohibit it, let's figure out a way to control it.
Trustee Brady, Trustee Brady?
I don't know, how often is this going to be needed? Who's going to call and order a six-pack delivered to the house? If you call and order a pizza, you can order a pop, but I've lived here a lot of years, and I've never wanted a beer online. I never ordered a beer over the phone. Went and got one, and if I wanted a pizza, Dave delivered it. If this ain't broke, we shouldn't fix it. I'm not so sure we shouldn't we're not opening up a Pandora's box here of problems, but now we gotta have certified people to deliver, make deliveries. You know, we're gonna have all kinds of paperwork, whatever the case may be, and we might keep getting into trouble elsewhere, other than somebody having a huge party and Benny's making a truck delivery. I can't see delivering a normal delivery to a home is necessary. Sorry.
Questions or comments? Anyone else?
Yeah.
Trustee Lang?
Well, I get wine shipped to the house, and either FedEx or UPS will deliver it, and I have to sign off on it. And, you know, the rules that I'm applying to say that someone 21 and older has to be there to sign off. At one point, one of my kids were home and I wasn't, and they wouldn't leave the wine, which was a good sign. But maybe if there's some sort of sign off on the fact that there's a record of it, because there's a record, UPS has a record, or FedEx has a record that I signed off on this case of wine and I accepted it. And I'm over 21. So maybe if there's some way to, if we look into it, if everyone agrees, that if there's some record that is kept, that yes, indeed, there was a ID shown and I don't know about Bassett trained, but it probably should be, everything else is. So at least approach the question on it and look into it to see a little bit more.
So you would want to see what would be involved in?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds harmless enough, but it is unregulated right now, and anything can happen.
If I may, I think I can answer some of that question, because we did talk about this internally. Of course, like with any business that serves alcohol, it falls on the ownership really to be the ones that are doing the at least frontline enforcement. Of course, the village has its own protocol for stings and all that to make sure that the protocol is being followed. But really the only thing that we could do is require Bassett training on anyone delivering alcohol, which Bassett training says 18 to serve. And we would add them to the list of our sting operations. Like we do now, we do go into restaurants with underage residents and try to get served. We could do that now for takeout or delivery in this case. As far as creating a log and a system of paperwork, I suppose we could do it. It's creating a bit of an administrative burden on our, in reality, police department. Mm-hmm. The question of whether it's worth it or not, I guess, is one that you have to answer from a policy standpoint.
Well, it does not seem like it is anything abused right now. It doesn't seem like there's a problem, according to any police reports on this. So yeah, maybe that is excessive to have some sort of paper trail to it. But if we're relying on the business to be up to speed on all that, then I'd be satisfied with that.
If it helps, I don't know that it does, but maybe more to Trustee Brady's comment. In preparation for this conversation, we did try to find an answer from both Grubhub and Uber Eats to see if they have solved this for us, and neither one will deliver alcohol. So both of those companies make their living on picking up food from an establishment, delivering it to a residence, establishments that don't otherwise have delivery service, and they won't be bothered with it, probably because of the liability and the paperwork side. But that doesn't mean that we can't do it. There are communities that allow it, and there are communities that are prohibiting it. And by allow it, I mean their codes, from what we could find, are silent, like ours is. Therefore, businesses are providing this service through those means.
Trustee Kruger, you want to do this?
I just have one quick comment.
Okay.
To Trustee Brady's comment that, there doesn't seem to be a problem, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the cat's out of the bag when a business owner sends out a flyer and says that they do, and we're silent on it. I think we have to explore, writing, or at least having some language in the code that addresses it, because somebody's already advertised for it, and we don't have a regulation for it. So.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Mr. Ferrolo.
Thank you, President Hooker. Part of the problem here is the language that these businesses are relying on. It comes from, it's old language that's been in the code for a very long time. For the A, B, and C licenses, the restaurant licenses and the bar licenses, the licenses provide that they can sell liquor for consumption on premises and for purchase and consumption off premises. It's this language that's very vague that the restaurants that are delivering are taking advantage of, and that's why we have a situation that it's unregulated. I don't think when this code was written long ago, they envisioned alcohol being delivered. But I also see that that particular language might be open for interpretation in that way. So we have an unregulated situation now. We've identified the problem or potential problem. I think it is worth looking at how you might make sure it is not an issue.
Other questions or comments? So right now, we should poll the board, I think, and see if there's a need to regulate or prohibit.
So yes, I think the easiest way to do this is a simple yes or no, at least for the first part. Should the village amend its municipal code to explicitly prohibit the delivery of alcoholic beverages?
You got everybody in order there? You want to do
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Ready?
it? I was asking
Okay.
if you wanted to.
Yeah. Trustee Vito?
No.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
No.
Trustee Brady?
No.
Trustee Kruger?
Can I understand that again? No means,
We will not amend the code to explicitly prohibit the delivery of alcoholic beverages.
and there's a second question here about changing language that regulates what we already have?
Correct.
Okay, so then no.
Trustee Vogel?
No.
President Horker?
No.
Okay.
The second question, as Trustee Kruger mentioned, really is an offshoot of the first, which is, without changing the language, should we still create an enforcement requirement procedure in order to help manage what is already happening? So the vote was 6-1?
Right.
Okay, so we will not be changing the language. Therefore, the next question and last question on this topic is, should the village take measures such as amending its code and/or adopting an enforcement protocol to ensure that the delivery of alcoholic beverages is done safely and responsibly? Essentially, it's what Trustee Lang asked.
Did I take a roll?
So this would, just one moment. So this would require coming up with the regulations, the training, whatever,
Correct.
We'd come back to you with suggestions.
Correct.
Everybody clear? Okay.
Yeah, can I just ask the chief?
Please.
The chief, has there been any issue, any arrest, any call?
There's been no issues at this point.
Okay, thanks.
So should we create legislation regulating it?
How about just, should we create enforcement protocol?
Okay.
However we do it, based on what we come up with.
I just want to make sure it's clear.
Okay. Okay.
Please.
Trustee Vito?
No.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
No.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
No.
Yes wins.
Yep, heard it. That happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if the second topic is a little more black and white. The second topic is one of licensing gaming cafes. Currently, the village code only allows for 3 gaming cafe licenses. All 3 are currently filled with businesses active and in town. This really is just a policy question of whether or not the board, after having several years of having gaming cafes operating in our community, whether the board would like to amend our policy in order to allow for additional gaming cafe licenses to become available. So again, this is limited to gaming cafes. This is not about whether a restaurant has gaming associated with it, but specific to gaming cafes. Trustee Papantos, did that adequately cover your request?
Yes, and part of the reason I brought this up is it seems that we have establishments coming to us and coming up with business plans that just skirt the issue that they are really want to open a video gaming cafe, and so they change it slightly so that they open something else, but they're opening a video gaming cafe. I don't see the reason for them to change their business plan so much that it's really useless. And having asked Chief Dunn, have there been any problems with our video gaming cafes?
Absolutely none.
So I can't see the reason for the cap.
Trustee Vogel and Trustee Lang, you're up next.
When I come in and ask for a cafe license for video, and you tell me no, and I come back and change it to a sit-down restaurant to meet the qualifications, is there any way that we can control whether or not, is there any cap on the amount of money he's got to make from the restaurant versus the video? I mean, if, let's say I'm going to make $250,000 off a video, okay, and I make $5 off a restaurant selling a donut. Is there anything we can do to prohibit that, or are we just, our hands are tied? If our hands are tied, then let's eliminate the, let's open 25 of them if that's what we're going to do.
At this point, we have criteria in the code that qualifies an establishment as a cafe. A cafe is an establishment with 30 seats minimum, doesn't have a complete menu, it's a light menu, but we have a requirement that the cafe make at least 50% of its revenue on food and non-alcoholic
Cut to the
beverages.
chase on this, I understand that, but is there any way we can check that and control it?
Yeah, well, there's language in the code that says that each year with their annual renewal, they have to submit to us at our request audited financial statements, Illinois state tax returns showing their receipts from sales of liquor versus sales of food, as well as any other documents, including video gaming revenue, as well as any other documents that the village deems necessary to assess the 50% criteria. So we do have the mechanism in the code at renewal time to ensure that these criteria are being met.
Okay, and that's reviewed before the recommendation to renew is made to us?
It should be renewed. The idea when the code was drafted would be that it would be reviewed before renewal.
That's a cafe. What, is there something different for the switch over to the full restaurant, so now I qualify for it?
No, the restaurant does
Same.
not have, we certainly could look into it. Restaurant does not have a percentage criteria relating to revenues. A restaurant is more defined in terms of having a full menu with with lunch and dinner available at least 5 days a week. It's more of a full menu approach with a restaurant. There are two kinds of restaurants. There's a B, which is at least 30 seats, and a Class A, which is at least 75 seats. But there is no revenue-based criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Lang?
Thank you. The gaming is practically invisible in this town. You drive up and down the streets, and with the lack of neon and all that saying that there's gaming here, it's very minimal. So it's invisible here. You don't even really know it's here. If we allow it to be expanded, it's going to be in every shopping center, whether that's an issue or not. I don't think it's an issue. But one of the things I was just thinking of is that since we have this 3 limit right now, these businesses are getting a little more smarter on how to put a business out there for us to accept. And what we're getting is a better business. We're getting a restaurant of some type. We're getting, a place that serves famous soup. We're getting an Italian bistro place eventually. So we're getting a better quality place than just a gaming facility. So I'd like to still see that instead of just saying open up a bare minimum. I'd rather we have kind of force the issue on however we do that to continue doing what we're doing and force a better product from these guys instead of just the bare minimum.
Any other questions or comments? Trustee Vito.
Yeah. The 50% thing, I mean, I can't see. Stella's really makes only less than 50% of their revenue from gaming?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, I'm not trying to call them out because I personally don't care if they made 100% of it from gaming, but it just seems like there's no way. I mean, people go in there and sit in a machine forever and they have one Heineken or, you know, a panini.
Maybe it's a really expensive Heineken.
It could be, but it's got to be about $200 by the amount that these people do it. You know, and the reason for the cap, I guess, you know, we don't want it to be ubiquitous, but I don't think it's been a problem at all. I think they've been one of the nicer looking things in the shopping centers. I personally don't understand why people like to do it. It's not my fun way of gambling, but you know, I don't know who we are to tell people they can't do it, or if they want to do it, they have to go into a restaurant and do it. It doesn't seem to make any difference. If we're going to legislate morality, we might as well legislate morality and say you can't do it. In this case, I think we should just let it go. And, you know, if people come in with concepts for video gaming cafes, just let them be. I think that the 3 maximum has created the problem we've all talked about, where people come in and pretend they're something they're not, and it's sometimes insulting to the board, or at least insulting to our intelligence, you know, that they're going to have some fancy Italian cafe, and there's 3 slots, gaming terminals back there, but we're only going to have a panini press, but we're going to make all this great Italian food. It's just odd. So I don't see any purpose for this. I think there was a concern about crime and other things like that. I remember when the Stella's by Fresh Farms opened up, people thought it's too close to the school, there's going to be problems, but I don't think there has been at all. So my vote would be to eliminate the 3 gaming cafe maximum.
Trustee Vogel?
Wasn't the original intent when they passed that gaming law was to help established businesses? I mean, was that not, Jim, was that not the intent?
Not necessarily. I
And
mean, new businesses come in with this concept too. I think that certainly is part of it, but you may get a great new restaurant coming to town that
No,
insists
I
on
understand,
gaming.
but, I mean, it got a lot of press that this was to assist existing businesses.
In part.
And it has grown, and at some point in time, how many can a village of 40,000 people handle? It's like, how many auto parts stores do we need? How many banks do we need? It's the same with video gaming to me, so.
So if there's no other questions
No
or
questions.
comments? Okay.
Are there other provisions regarding the NV license? Like, there can't be another one however many feet away, or, you know, I understand the one about not close to a church, not close to a school. You know, there's other requirements for gaming, but are there specific ones to the NV that makes it, I don't know, stronger, you know, to prevent what Trustee Vogel's talking about, that there's one on every corner?
There are not currently, as far as distance regulations. We do have sign code regulations that help the appearance of them, but as far as distance between each of them, we do not.
So 3 vacant spots at, I'm making this up, Fresh Farms. Those 3 could be filled up with 3 different video gaming cafes if we allow the increase in licenses?
That's correct.
Well, keep in mind, you have the right to approve or disapprove a liquor license.
Correct. That's a powerful thing.
Right.
And don't some of the shop owners, or when you're leasing the space, isn't there some limitation that you negotiate your lease and say, I want to be the only one in this shopping center?
Most leases will have an exclusivity clause if the video gaming facility has done their homework. They don't want competition within their own shopping center.
Thank you.
Overall, I just want to end this by saying that if we allow more of them and not the limit of 3. I think it keeps potential petitioners honest. They're actually bringing to us what they actually want to do in our town and not make up something to go around, or go around the code. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Brady?
Thank you. We were all heavily involved when Stellas came around to the troubles that that type of business would cause to the neighborhood, to the businesses, to the parking, and everything else. And I can't quite tell you, it seems like they've disappeared since they opened. The one by my house, you never see anybody in it, yet you look online and they're grossing tons of money through the gambling. And there's still parking out in front. So are we barking up the wrong tree, trying to limit these? Now, we've got an owner here on Schoenbeck looking to rent a piece of his little shopping center there. Is that going to cause a problem? I don't think you're going to see a lot of people eating. Mr. Eagle can't kid me about, coming from a restaurant that fed 3,000. He tucks his microwave under his arms, and he's coming to Wheeling to cook my Polish food. He's coming to Wheeling to make some money gambling. It's no different than Stella's, okay? But I still don't see any problem not giving him the opportunity. So.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Mr. Spondelis, what are we doing?
So the question before the board, does the board want to maintain its policy of not granting liquor licenses to any new video gaming cafes? If you vote yes, that means the limit of 3 will remain. If you vote no, the next question will be, how would you like to increase that number? We can simply say there is no cap, or we can say instead of 3, it's 6. But before we get there, I guess the question is, would you like to maintain the current policy? So if you vote yes, we keep the limit of 3. If you vote no, the next question will be, what would you like that number to be?
Clerk Simpson, would you poll the board?
Can I ask one more question?
Okay,
How many- Sure.
Trustee Vito.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many have we turned down?
Director Jennings, you probably have a better, or Director Malanofi, a better answer on who's come in.
We've had a few that have actually modified.
Well, that was going to be my second question. Of those we turned down, how many finally got accepted?
I think you've seen two of them come back and be fully accepted. To turn down, we advise the potential business that they would, that the board has made a statement that no additional licenses of that type would be issued. So we're not necessarily turning them down, we're advising them that the cap in the code is a cap in the code.
Okay. So 2 for 2?
You're talking about Bella's and?
The Eagle Cafe came in originally with a smaller number of seats.
Yes, just for the record, that the owner did state that, because I let him know that we were having this discussion just 2 weeks after he was scheduled to come to the board. His answer was, it doesn't matter whether we increase the number of gaming cafes, he still wanted to be a restaurant, not a gaming cafe. For whatever that's worth, that's the response.
Good to go, Mr. Vogel.
Thank you.
Clerk Simpson, please poll the board. Want clarification again? Yeah. Clarification.
So remove is. If you vote yes, we're keeping the limit of 3. Okay. Is that easy enough?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Trustee Vito.
No.
Trustee Papantos.
No.
Trustee Lang.
No.
Trustee Brady.
No.
Trustee Kruger.
No.
Trustee Vogel.
Yes.
President Horker.
No.
Follow-up question then, what would you like that number to be increased to? If you're not prepared to answer that question tonight, certainly, I don't know what more research we can do. This really is a policy decision, but don't feel pressured.
Well, should we ask, how about, should there be a limit, or should we just?
We can do that.
Should there be a limit?
How about 3.5?
So it'd be 2.5 machines
Okay.
and a soda bar. Should there be a limit?
Cold coffee.
Wait, should there be a limit?
Okay, I changed this. Should there be a limit? Okay. Should I do it? Trustee
right ahead.
Vito?
No.
Trustee Papantos?
No.
Trustee Lang?
No.
Trustee Brady?
Nope.
Trustee Kruger?
I'm kind of not prepared to answer this because I don't know how our existing 3 have performed under the regulations that we already have. I mean, do I care? Deep down, no, but I want to know. Because what if the 3 that we have are not performing and we don't renew their license because they're not maintaining 50% of their revenue being food and beverage, food and non-alcoholic beverage?
Want to abstain because,
I would like to abstain because I'd like
Okay.
us to talk more about them meeting, are they meeting that requirement?
it's responsible.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
No.
The noes win. 5 noes.
I'll still provide that information to the
Thank
board.
you
I mean,
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spondelis.
Okay.
Thank you. And just, I think this is a healthy conversation to have. I think it just shows what a success Wheeling has become. This is a good problem to have. So these are definitely good conversations and good opportunity to revisit our code to make sure that we're fitting the trends of the private sector.
Official communications. Clerk Simpson, you had something?
Yes. In case you don't know it, tomorrow is voting day, so please go out and vote. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. And I want to wish you a very happy birthday, President Horker.
Thank
Tomorrow's
you.
your birthday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's all I have.
To the staff.
Mary's got her hand raised.
What? Well, I'm going to go first.
You go. Just don't forget about me.
I will exercise a little bit of authority. We had the State of the Village address at the airport over the weekend. After watching Mayor Helmer's presentation, I realized I must apologize to staff that attended. I forgot to introduce you guys. I did take, no, it's important. I did take notes, and I will do a better job next year. Mr. Janik, you were there. Mr. Malenefi, you were there. There was, Mary Anthea is not here. Fine, then I won't apologize to her. What? But thank all of you for being there who were there. And now, Trustee Kruger.
Okay, good, thank you. I just want to give a shout out to the Wheeling girls track team who nabbed the Mid-Suburban League indoor title at, I believe it was at Barrington Heights. Sure. Oh, no, Saturday at North Central College. They beat runner-up Wheeling rose to the team championship with 101.5 points ahead of runner-up Prospect with 84 and Barrington with 83. That is an amazing track score for the Wheeling girls track team. So way to go, Wildcats. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. One other thing, earlier this evening, we had a couple come forward to ask the board about amending or waiving our requirement to hook onto village water and sewer. Is there anyone interested in championing that cause? Trustee Vito.
I will champion that cause. Yeah, I mean, I don't, if the numbers are right, 150,000 to connect to the sewer line, I'm not positive, but aren't most of those houses over there on well and septic as it is now?
The question is about new construction.
No, I get it, but I mean, we're going to demand that there are one, and then demand that they put in 150,000 in infrastructure to build a house. I mean, it's impossible, and we can't. And I mean,
Not impossible. It's been, well, no, actually, not true. There is no service on Jackson Drive, but a beautiful home has been built there. But they have spent a good amount of money on infrastructure for their water.
So you want to...
But they're not connected.
right.
Can I ask, is that sewer going to be for the sole purpose of this lot? Or are they going to be passing homes that are currently on septic?
Would this be a Mr. Jennings?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't picture that. I believe the answer is no, it would be direct to them.
It is direct to them. The nearest property is the KinderCare. They're the first vacant lot west of that. So the existing connection to the sanitary sewer is to the southeast of Kindercare.
And if I may, just if we're going to discuss this, please remember that we should never make decisions based on a single user, that any decision that this board makes needs to be one that all 40,000 residents are held accountable for. So while there are always instances that are challenging, the codes are written to protect the community as a whole. I'm just putting it out there that the discussion shouldn't be about one resident. It should be about the last 20 years of developing a code for a purpose. That's all.
And what is the underlying government interest in making sure that everybody's on sewer as opposed to septic?
Well, you heard a presentation earlier about infiltration. That's now a lot of that specifically was about storm sewer, but there are equal, if not more strict regulations about sanitary discharge. Everything that has been happening over the last several decades says that you have to collect and move sanitary discharge in a very specific and protected manner. So septic fields are not in that category.
Yeah, my problem with that particular property is where it is. It's everybody around it is on a well and septic.
No, that's not true, and I misspoke before. I believe 99% of the residents on Jackson Drive are on Old Town Sanitary. So that pipe, we've been connected. I do not have a septic field in my backyard.
Okay.
So, but I have my own water. That is something that the village, we can't afford to bring that down there yet.
Can you meet with, I guess, Mr. Jennings or Public Works?
Sure, any of us, we can put it together and have a discussion, absolutely.
Okay. Does that work for you?
That's fine for me, yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Brady, did you have something you want to?
I was going to say, let's keep this continued so that when our engineers get done with taking a close look at it, we could get back to discussing it some more. I hate to see a parcel, a nice parcel like that, just sit there and go to waste, never be developed, because nobody's ever going to be able to afford hooking up a sewer. Maybe we can come up with some ways to be halfway with them. I don't know what the rules say. I don't know what we can do.
I don't think it'll go to waste.
I don't know if there's any ways we can craft something real, different to get them their sewer line.
Okay.
Excuse me. One other comment I would make about that is I would have hoped that somebody purchasing property would have done their homework and find out what the codes are. It was very clear this isn't something we just suddenly came up with. It has been that way for quite a while, and while I sympathize with their plight, buyer beware. I mean, they knew what was out there. They should have looked it up. The KinderCare is connected to both village water and sewer. Am I correct, Mr. Jennings?
I believe that's the case.
Right, so they knew what was in the area. I wish they would have looked it up themselves.
And just to add, this is not just a Village of Wheeling code. This is, I can't think of another municipality in northwest suburban Chicago that doesn't have the exact same language.
Thank you.
Okay. Staff? Going once. Thank you. You have before you the bills for March 1st through March 14th, 2018. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Kruger, second trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. We have no executive session tonight, which means we can adjourn if someone makes the motion.
Oh, so moved.
Trustee Kruger, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos. Meeting is adjourned. Thank all of you for sharing your evening with us.
All in favor?
All in favor.
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you.
Opposed?
Go.
There we go.
The ayes have it.
Didn't think it would be that hard, did you?